Hey, and good morning. We're at a live chat here at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. You stay well, be good, and welcome aboard. Remember, this channel is just for your entertainment's sake. Oh. Don't believe anything I say. No. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who's I have a number of friends, as you guys, my cadre, all over the place that, have interesting observations of what it is. And well, I'm coming to a realization that we, our species, no, it's more the white man culture that has been in power for the last 100,000 years, maybe. Oh, and we've hit this barrier, like in the sea, you jump in the water, it's warm up here, you swim down, it's cold, cold, cold. There are all these different barriers in the sea, right? And we have, we know more about outer space than we do about our oceans, right? I have a friend of mine who's a volcanologist, and he says there are something close to 10 million volcanoes in the ocean spewing heat. That's why the ocean is getting hot. And it's throwing off all kinds of acidity into the ocean. And, that's why our seas are getting acidic. Now, the fact that we're dumping trillions of tons of garbage in the ocean, not good. That we're dumping trillions of tons of chemicals into the atmosphere, not good. But these things have a tendency to be more harmful to us than Gaia, Mother Earth. And, just look, an asteroid, we've had a number of death shots on this planet. And everything dies and it comes back. That's the beauty of Gaia. And we've just been here for, a second of galactic time. So to think that, anything we do is no more than, I keep saying, we're like salt on a potato chip, And so, but we also have this amazing shamanic ability to energetically involve ourselves consciously. And so, all of the great avatars, spiritual beings. And that's what we are. We are spiritual beings in this mud puppet. Right? We're given this material world to experience, to co-create with love. That's why love created us. It was getting bored. Everything was running by the hegemony of heaven, and it was all going the way it was supposed to go, but nothing was being created, right? So, we have the opportunity to step and go, ascend up through the barrier that we're at. And pretty much my masters used to always say to me, don't worry about things, buddy. All things are as they should be. And that's kind of where we're at. Everything is where it should be, right? And we get the leadership we deserve. So we deserve Donald Trump because he is, taking a hatchet to that barrier. Now, he may not know what he's doing. Um, and the hidden hand, there's so many influences of the hidden hand, so many constituencies, right? So there are a zillion places up there. I'm amazed that we're not at war in Iran. That we haven't nuclear weapons. After the fall of Russia, George H. promised Mikhail Gorbachev that the United States and NATO wouldn't infringe on Russia, right? Wouldn't threat. So for that 10 years, Russia was trying to regroup itself, through first Glasnost and then other avenues of restructuring. This, their communist economic structure just didn't work. I mean, I shopped the Olympics in 1976 in Sarajevo, and I was in the most amazing hotel room that was like Louis XIV. And, Sarajevo was the city, the pinnacle of the communist structures, what it could do materialistically. And still at that time, most people didn't realize that Russia was owned by, the Rothschilds basically bought the Russian Revolution. Marx and Lenin were both in, Stalin, not Stalin, those two guys were, who kicked off the revolution, were in Canadian jails. During World War I, England takes them and on an English warship, takes them from Canada to Germany and puts them in Germany. And Germany puts them on a military train and gives them $5 million of gold and spirits them into Russia. And, less than 6 months later, they have a revolution in the 5 major cities. And if, it took Stalin another, 20 years and killing 60 million of his own people to, convince, Russia into the USSR, the CCP. So when I was in that hotel room, and the bathroom is like bigger than my whole apartment in New York City, it only had 6 squares of toilet paper. And when I called up the desk, after one loaf and one pinch, and I had used up all 6. Could I have a little warm up? Thank you.
Doing okay?
Always good.
Good.
Thank you, babe. So that's when I knew the Russians were no threat. Like today, Russia's gross domestic product, everything it has economically, is smaller than California's. If California has a bigger economy, more dynamics than Russia, they're not a threat. They spent in 2018 $60 billion on their whole defense budget, right? We spent almost $1 trillion on our defense budget, because our defense budget isn't just the $700 billion we gave to the Defense Department, but another, 200 and something billion to the Energy Department, because they make all our nuclear weapons, and then another few $100 billion to the, all these, our military industrial complex isn't just in the Defense Department. It's basically our whole country, our whole economy is that. And that was one reason they gave so much money, to keep people employed. Like the only reason the F-35, the biggest dog of military aircraft ever in America's history, is because Lockheed put defense contractors in every state. So every Senate and Congressperson has money to be made by keeping the F-35 alive, even though it's a terrible aircraft. And it'll probably be one of the major things to destroy, meaning the F-16 and the F-15 platforms were built just like the B-52. Look, the B-52 has been around almost 60, 70 years, and they keep upgrading the engines and the platform, but the frame stays the same. And I mean, there are guys flying that airplane that their grandfathers flew that same airplane. Now, if we, and the F-16 and the F-15 are like these quintessential amazing things. So you just keep upgrading um, the frame, and because the F-16 is an unbeatable ground attack aircraft and a air fighter. The F-15 is air superiority for it, right? Now you put it in conjunction with the F-22, which is an amazing aircraft, another quintessential beautiful aircraft, but they only made like 300 and stopped. Instead of that, they enlarged the assembly line and drew the price down. Anyway, that's micromanaging the issue. The issue is, we are this disease, and unless the human body has this great immune system, right, that fights everything off, right? But what is cancer? But the immune system going nuts, and then it kills the body politic, and that's kind of where we're at. And so we have to heal ourselves. No politician, no Donald Trump, no Barack Obama, no, the Gipper, no, none of that. No, we can't find a hero won't be riding in on the white horse, as Gil Scott Heron said, this is just a great, a B movie. And so we have to individually step up in our own communities, our own towns, our own families, our own individual self. When I ended up dead in a bowl of spaghetti, going on 7 years now, ago, and I had to lose 220, 30, 40, 50 pounds as I'm still losing weight. I'm down to 220 something. And, my perfect weight is maybe 175. When I was 25 in New York City being the dude electrician and didn't have a truck and I carried my tools around. It's like I was going to the gym. I'd be walking 60, 70 blocks carrying, somewhere between 60 and 100 pounds worth of tools. I had these two big bags, And whenever I went on a job, if I was going to be there more than a few days, I'd find a closet, change the lock, put my stuff in it, and that was cool. But you know what I'm saying? Until I'm getting back, I'll never be 25 years old. I'm an old guy. Just, look at me. But my body, as my endocrinologist keeps saying, boy, man, you're the healthiest dead guy I've ever seen. And why am that? Because I have stuff to do. One of them is to help, not help. I am your, Griot Sensei Alba. I'm here. You are my adepts. You're my Padawans. I'm trying to make you into, Jedi Knights, And then you can go forth and bring peace and love and, in every day and every way to the world around us in love's co-creation. And just a handful, centurions, what was the Greek state that started with an S that they made the movie, the 300? I mean, that's who we are. We're 320, And that 300 kept up the mightiest military power on the planet, the Persian Empire, So, and we don't have to do that. I mean, we don't have to sacrifice ourselves in bloody battle. All we have to do is have a good time, So, yo. So, that's where we're at. So, it's we're into it for almost 15 minutes. You can take that and give me change. Oh, we're coming on 15 minutes. Okay. So we had a really intense heat wave. Look at New York City. It had like 3 power collapses. And, our whole power grid, we don't need someone to attack it. It is so anciently, terribly old. It's like our land-based missiles, they're 40, 50 years old. The Minuteman II, its computer, has floppy disks this big. I mean, there's something terribly wrong here, right? And yet we're still here. I'm amazed we're still here. Back in Obama's day, I don't know if you ever followed this, but there were in our military, in our nuclear triad, we have 3 guys: a Navy guy, an Air Force guy, and then another general. Thank you, darling. Oh, a fistful of dollars. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So and they're the guys who give, it goes down the chain of command, president, this guy to these guys, and then they parse it out into their own structures, and they want everything. Well, and those 3 guys are usually in some bunker watching all the screens, everything, and the order comes in from Obama to basically pop one up way high up and then have it come straight down on America. They wanted to take out a number of cities in America. And these guys, supposed to follow orders, but they wouldn't do it, right? And they said, no, I'm not going to do it. And launch nukes on our own country? Nuts, to make it look like somebody else did it? You got to be kidding me. They wouldn't do it. And so the next, those guys got arrested. And, then another group were ordered to do it. And people took and they wouldn't do it. That went went through a whole bunch of folks, and nobody would do it. And military, after, who finally kind of got the, everyone in the military, hey, what is going on? So they basically said to that power structure of the hidden hand, listen, we're going to go after you guys if you don't cut this out. So Obama stopped trying to do it. And things changed in the military. So, and that's why we have guys like Pompeo as, Secretary of State, and Bolton is, and he's about to be given the job, instead of just being the, guy who gives whispers in Donnie's ear. He's about to be given the job of control of the whole ball of wax, not as the Secretary of Defense, but the NIA, National Intelligence, thank you, Jig, which is more than just intelligence. It's like the control of the CCC, Command and Control and Communication. So anyway, we are in strange time. The little earthquake that happened in D.C. during Obama's time made a nuke under D.C., wiping the deep state down there out. And at the same time, there was a competing entity. They, right about the same time, those 2 cities had big earthquakes, right? So, I mean, the Washington Monument nearly fell down, and it took them a number of years to, put up a scaffolding and a big white. It was really amazing. They put a scaffolding around the Washington Monument and then put basically a Klan hood over it. It was like really. So you can't make this stuff up, and that's the world we're in, gang. And so, until we become, a healthy immune system, we're lucky there's someone higher up watching out over us, right? And so come on, this is a chat. It's 20 minutes. Just hit 20 minutes. So let's hear some, there's two of you there. Let's get some feedback. Now there's a pretty good story. Don't believe it. Go check it out. I'm your griot. I tell you stories to kind of make you go, huh? And so it's in your neighborhood to look at this, right? So I'm about to get my eyes operated on, and I will go from there. And I have friends who still think that Donald Trump is playing, 11 level strategy, mind chess with everything. No, really? I don't think so. So all I know is I don't know. Right? And all I care about is to serve Bub's co-creation by assisting you guys to being, Jedi. And Lucas got the whole Star Wars story from Joseph Campbell. For a whole year, he sat at his feet, and Joseph talked to him. And all of those movies is straight out of Joseph Campbell's mouth. Right? His understanding and appreciation of the ancient scripts, the ancient stories. He's a griot. Joseph Campbell was a griot, and that's kind of why he wrote a number of really great books. But he was, his real gift to humanity was his being a teacher at Georgetown forever, for a long time, and having students like me sit at his feet listening to the story. And George Lucas found out about this, went, sat at his feet, and said, "Whoa, this guy's." So he sat there writing it all down. Right? And that's what I do in my novels every day. I'm looking around, listening, watching, observing, taking it in, processing it, and writing novels. So that's all of the stuff that I've got on Blogspot, XRATTED, blogspot.com. I basically got from listening, watching, appreciating the world around me, right? And that's why it is the way it is. That's why it is like James Joyce on it. James Joyce, the first person to be stamped with a stream of consciousness, but even the Greeks did it. Go read Virgil and Homer, and the person I like best is the inventor of geometry, Euclid. It's the only real math there is. All the rest is make-believe. Algebra, trigonometry. It's just there to prove something that somebody wants to prove. That's why they call it a proof. They're trying to prove something. Right? See, I can put it up on a bulletin board. I can write it on a blackboard. So I can program a computer to do what I want it to do with it. Yeah, look what it's doing. So that's the interesting thing. Another good person to go read is Mary Shelley. Read her books, and you should read her parents, who were her mother or grandmother was the person who was one of the founders of the Paris Commune. And the Paris Commune, the French were very interesting. Probably the most interesting thing that's going on is not Brexit. It's not Donald Trump. It's not the wars in the Middle East, which are very sad because millions of people are being disrupted and dying. And the same with, what's happening in Central America is exactly what happened in Syria. And it was brought to us by the same folks, the CIA. And, ISIS was manufactured by the CIA, just like the Taliban was manufactured by the CIA. And Iranian, Iran in the 40s after World War II elected a very good person to be president. He was getting rid of England. He was going to let the Iranians, um, you know, you know, own their own oil, and he was going to build their society. And even though it was like a Muslim country, it was sectarian. Everyone could be there, just like Iraq was, just like Syria was, just like Libya was, right? And those countries fell only when those guys said, listen, we're not taking treasury notes. We're not letting the dollar be the petrodollar. We want, gold, or we want the euro dollar. And, Muammar wanted gold. And when he realized that there was no gold left on the planet, even though in South Africa they're taking tons of that out of the ground every year, he said, what's going on? And he was about to blow the bubble of that, hey, all of this gold is going off planet to our, dimensional / extraterrestrial overlords, Very similar to the scenes from, The Simpsons and Futurama. I mean, that's actually what's going on our planet. I mean, the media is really, truly telling us what's going on. But at the same time, it's fake. I mean, we haven't had a single war, all the way back to the Revolutionary War, all the way back to, when the Pilgrims showed, all the way up to Christopher Columbus. It's always been fake news. It's the powers that shouldn't be telling us what to believe, what to think, right? What to do, right? And I'm not telling you, I'm telling you, don't even believe what I say. I'm telling you, go find out for yourself. I'm telling you to wake up, stop being the disease, And, you can't use this channel as a placebo, This is supposed to be an aid, not even a band-aid. And just a vehicle for you to take yourself past that boundary layer. Allow you, it's like putting, the pebble into the pond upside down. We are in the world downside up. We need to get, instead of understanding, we need to overstand. We need to get above the boundary, and ascend to our higher conscious free will, rather than giving up and being, our slovenly underworld free will. Oh, I have free will to cut every tree down. I can do whatever I want. I can pollute the place too. I can kill children, babies, bomb hospitals. I can do whatever I want. I have free will. No, sorry. Everything has a consequence and a cost. And so, what did the folks who backed the wars in the Middle East expect? It was planned that all of these folks from North Africa would go into Europe. That's had happened before. When the Europeans went and did the Crusades. That's how the Jews got into Europe, because they were North Africans. They were dark-skinned folk. Sorry, Jesus was not a white-skinned, blue-eyed, straight-haired guy. He had an afro, And he was a Nazarene, They called him, he's a Nazarene. Wasn't like the name, the name of the cul-de-sac he came from. No, it was the type. It's like Jesus being a Nazarene. There's a lot of them, Basically, if you go back to pre-Sumerian, what does Nazarene mean? It means lucky bastard. And those are people who are awake, like Buddha said when he was on the side of the road, and the travelers said, "What are you, God? What are you?" And Buddha said, "No." "Well, what are you?" The magician. "No." "What are you?" "I am awake." Well, the majority of the folk aren't awake. And now your sensei, your Griot Sensei Al Bob, maybe I'm awake 80% of the time. The other 20, I'm a moron, And now I'm doing really good, being better and better every day in every way, taking the piece of the earth, and I no longer drive like a New Yorker, At every stop sign, I stop and I count to 3, 1001, 1002, 1003. And if you do that, you'll never drive through a stop sign, right? Every light. Once I drive up to light, and it's been green for a long time, I kind of slow down so I can brake if it's yellow. Because in actuality, gang, if you go through a yellow light, you break the law. Most states, going through a yellow light is like going through a red light because they got so tired of people going, "It was yellow, man." So if you go through a yellow light, you're breaking the law. And every time I get in the car, I turn my phone off and put it in the glove box. I turn everything off. On my laptops, I turn off. Right. Anyway, so it's now 30 minutes and 42 seconds. I really haven't heard from you guys. So I might wait till 44:44, right? Time flies by so quickly. So again, we're in this little window of we're now in 17 months, right? And it'll, as of a week from this Thursday, tomorrow, it will be 16 months, right? When September around that time rolls around, it'll be 15 months, right? And you should go read Whitley Strieber's book 2012. It's probably one of the more interesting takes on what 2012 was. Right? So, and in that book, everyone's going, "Oh, the end of the world, 2012," and it goes to like, who's there? I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I don't think I ever stopped at a stop sign. Well, in America, the only reason we're free, we're democracy. No, we don't have democracy, but we're free only when you don't get caught. So, Mr. AC, you're a lucky guy. So, AC, when are you ready for a totally electric truck? You totally ready for? Are you a big 16-wheeler, or are you a more bread truck delivery guy? Because I would say the next 5 years, all truckers will be out of business. Meaning that all trucking will be done by, autonomous devices. The big 18-wheelers, ooh, baby, big snake. So, did you ever run over a motorcyclist? I used to be a volunteer fireman, and I was up near Cornell, and there were two interstates. And instead of having a clover leaf, they just did this. So his trucks would be going this way, and little cars and motorcycles would be going the other way. The big trucks didn't even see them. They just keep going. And we, at least once a week, we scrape somebody off the interstate. So we got really good at cutting people out of cars and keeping them alive till we can get them in the hospital. I would say 80% of the people, they looked deader than dead, but they weren't all dead, so we kept them alive. And we had some real cutting, and this is like, mid 80s. And we had this great suit. Somebody got squished, and they were like, avocado on the inside. We had this rubber suit that we would stick them into and inflate, so it would hold everything in place until we got them to the emergency room, and so they wouldn't bleed out. And we had a number of really interesting devices like that. And we were really good at getting people out of, because we would chop the top off a sedan, hit the four posts, take the top right off, cut the steering wheel off, with the jaws of life. And we also had the pincers of life, things that you get a little purchase and open it. We could pop doors off. So we could cut off the top and the steering column and take the doors out in less than a minute. Bing, 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 bing. We were like one of those crews that you see at the racetrack where it's like, boom, and we do it, right? And really the only fires we ever put out were in the automobiles. I think we only responded to one house fire. If you're supposed to live, you're right. That's exactly it. The most amazing thing that we would see is somebody who looked totally messed up. Like you couldn't believe they were alive. They would survive. I remember one time this girl was heading out of, she was no more than 30 miles away from her home, and she was heading to California. Her daddy just bought her a convertible Mustang, and she was driving to California to go to Stanford, right? She was the top of her class, the pride of her family. She was beautiful, everything, right? And she's driving along. She went through this truck, hit her, and she went through the air, and she got hit by the top of another truck, I think a garbage truck, and she flew through the air. And because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt and it was a convertible, she kind of flew out of the air while the vehicle was, flibbering around, and she got hit 5 or 6 times, and it broke her neck, and did a few other things. And she flew through the air, and she landed in the top of a tree. So when we got there, it took us like 10 minutes to find her car. And then when we got to her car, we couldn't find anybody in the car. And then we kind of started, it took us 15, 20 minutes to find her up in a tree, because where she landed in a tree was not where the car was. It was like the bottom, but it was like she flew through the air and the car went this way and she went that way. Anyway, we had to go up. These were all things that weren't part of our really good training. But we got her, within 20 minutes, we found her, got her out of the tree, and brought her down. And she was gone. But she didn't have a speck of blood on her. She looked like she was, when we took her out of the tree and put her into the basket, put her in the basket in the tree and took her down. And we called in a helicopter, and but she was gone. We called off the helicopter and we just took her to the morgue. But she was perfect. Her makeup looked great. She looked like she was asleep. And you're right. If you're going to go, I've died 6 times, but almost died. Not died. I went to the other side, saw my masters. They said, no, you're not done. Go back. And every time I go back, I'd be like, oh, my God, that hurts. And that's why I'm pretty beat up. That's why my endocrinologist says to me, boy, you're the healthiest dead guy I've ever seen. So I'll be alive until I am done. Let's see. I also believe there's a blue book on our life. Story has, yes, it's more like a movie, but yes. My dad once, I've been taking care of my parents for at least 10 years, maybe longer, 12, 15. And they had me drive them to New Jersey to my sister's. And my father was going to be nice and start. I said, before you die, you got to get kumbaya with your children and your grandchildren. And anyway, my mother said, yes, Ray, you got to do this. I want to see the children before I die. So anyway, I took them there. And my father was just in a crappy mood. And he does this thing where he's really nice and gregarious. He's got a really gregarious side to him. And as soon as you feel that all of your shields are let down, he sticks a knife in your heart. And he did that to me. And it hurt me so deeply that when I went to sleep, I had a heart attack. I died, right? And, I went to the other side. I went to the place where you get to see your whole life, everything, everybody that you were good or bad to, all the things you did, you get to see. And it's kind of like, it's like the Akashic Records. AC, have you looked at any of the channel and looked at the guided meditations I do? And I take people into the Akashic Record and show you your past lives and all of that. That book is like looking at what you did this time around. And it's basically, you're in the middle, and all the people who you affected are around you, and the spotlight goes on each of them, and they tell their story, and you feel like when you were really crappy to them and you hurt their feelings, you feel what you did to them. And it's like retelling your story. And so when my father stuck that knife in me and I had a heart attack in the motel room, that's where I went. But instead of me being on a little platform, I was up on a mezzanine, and my masters were behind me, and my father was being judged. All the people he did shitty things to went around the circle, and he would feel and see the shitty things he did, and he would be, he would experience that, right? Have the lesson, right? And then the light would ask the individual who my father had done bad things to, so do you forgive this man, right? And so all the thousands of people that went through that process with my father, every one of them said, no, burn his ass in hell. He deserves it. I mean, that's what kind of guy my dad was. Even though he had a good side to him, even though, anyway, and I constantly tried to play that. Anyway, the last person in that circle, I went from being up in that mezzanine to boom, being down there. And it went through all the things my father had done to me, all the mean things he had said, all the really terrible positions he put me in, like sending me off to a seminary and almost being killed. When I landed in the hospital a couple of times, I'm saying, get me out of here. My father, tough it out. Well, these guys are going to kill me. My dad didn't care because he was in Europe with my mother, and he didn't want to, disturb his good time in Europe to have to deal with me. That's why he put me in a seminary. So I wouldn't be like my brother, which I never was. But my siblings and me, that's a whole nother hour's worth of talking about stuff. Oh, look at this. We're getting close to 4:40. So it comes to me, and everyone in the circle is like the stuff my father did to me is far worse than the other million or so people that my dad had, cut them off in traffic or said something mean to them once. They were like, oh, how can I stand it? Anyway, so it came to me, and then the light asked, do you forgive this man? And now if I said, yeah, send him to hell, burn his ass forever, that's what would have happened. But when I said, no, I forgive him, because I realized watching all of that, my father was every time he, and same with everybody else, he was tormenting himself. He was punishing himself. Whenever people do mean things to other people, when you hear this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. Well, it's surely true. And that's why I don't really go after people, because their life is miserable already. I don't, have to join in with that. And that's part of that barrier thing. To get through that barrier, you have to stop joining into the misery. It's like the misery barrier, right? So that's what it's about, and a good, all the people who kind of stood up to that barrier, people like Jesus, Buddha, Vishnu, and millions of others, and people like we know, like Gandhi and MC and X, all those people at a certain point, they realize that love and forgiveness were the way. And that's, when they understand that and start living that way, that's usually when the power shouldn't be off them, right? So, when MLK was talking about when white people and black people will be, blah, 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 blah. No, that was fine. The powers that shouldn't be, we're down with letting him say that. But when he started talking about poor people, that it wasn't about race, it was about class, and that you only had to look at Vietnam. Why Vietnam ended? Because it was becoming too obvious to the general public that war was just about money, and that it affected everybody, not just black people or poor people or people with darker skins, but everybody was getting drafted. If you were poor, I mean, guys like Donnie Trump, he could. His doctor could lie for him, right? His daddy could buy him into Wharton, So that's and America has always been this way, So yeah, so again, AC, our life story. First you have to realize we don't live in a linear world. At Big Bang, it's like everything happened at the Big Bang, the beginning, the middle, and the end. We only experience life as a linear path because it's the only way we can learn anything. And that, my dear, is for you. Yeah. So, we have to exact every day in every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. That's what this life is about. It's not winning the lottery, though I would like to win the lottery, but I'm living pretty good on $300 a month. Yeah. And so anyway, I forgive my father. And that's, when I said, I forgive this guy, boom, I was back in my body and there was a pounding on the door. Boom, 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 boom. And then the door opened and the manager was there. My sister was there and the EMTs were there. They rushed in and this guy's had a heart attack. And my hair was, I had longer hair and it was like standing out like this. And they put me in the gurney and rolled me into the hospital, the ambulance, and took me up to the hospital. And my father didn't even go to the hospital. Even to my mom, my sister was there, worrying. And then they came back and they said, your brother didn't have a heart attack. It seemed like he had a heart attack. Everything pointed that he had a massive coronary. But, the gold standard of a heart attack is after you have it and they stabilize you and bring you back, they basically do these blood tests. And when you have a heart attack, it leaves certain chemical hormone tracers in your body. And I didn't have those. So it was like, no, he just, I don't know what happened to him, but he didn't really have a heart attack. So my heart wasn't damaged, right? Well, the big crowd has just walked into this little room, and it's a family with a lot of kids, so it's going to get loud. And so it's been, we're getting towards 40-44. So I'm going to say goodbye, and maybe I'll come back on the line later this afternoon. Maybe more folks can speak up. Come on, guys. We need more thumbs up. Come on. There's two of you. Give me at least 2 thumbs up. And we need more subscribers, and we need you folks. I've talked to a lot of people who have YouTubes, and they're saying that for some reason the YouTube system doesn't, it will get rid of you if they don't want you for no reason at all. But what they do is that little bell, they just kind of every so often just wipe it out. So no one gets notified that I'm doing a live chat. But if you go back and hit that little bell again, it'll reset it. So, go out there and get some folks to subscribe. It'd be nice if it was more than, I'm very happy to have 320 cadre, but it'd be nice to have 1,000. That way I could go back to using my phone. Anyway, so that's the story for today. Don't be the disease, be the medicine that heals it. Okay, so here we're coming up to 48. I'm going to say, I love you guys. You have a beautiful day, night, morning, wherever you are. Be safe out there. AC, drive safe, baby. And I love you guys. Keep the faith, and in every day and every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. Right? Okay. And tonight, or later today, maybe I'll do a guided meditation. I think that's good. And in our next chat, let's have the audience talk a little bit more about where you want to go in the live meditation. Okay, the guided meditation. Okay, gang, I love you. See you later.